Now with us on the guest line, as promised, United States Olympian, UFC light heavyweight champion, UFC commentator, father, wrestling coach, Disney World machine, good friend of the program, Daniel Cormier is with us. Champ, thanks for the time today, man. How's it going out there?
I'm good, J.A. How you boys doing over there?
We're good, man. I know you just saw Ken Flo recently. Dude, you are milking this final haircut before the fight, letting that lettuce go. I mean, we got to get the fresh cut fade for Embedded. They got to be invading your space pretty soon here.
I got one today. I got a haircut this morning, man. I was looking rough. I was like, you know what? I got to cut it off. My baldness shows too much when the hair gets long. But, you know, in the midst of that training, man, you don't have time to go to the barbershop. So this morning I actually got a haircut. Now I feel good.
Well, no, and you look good still, and Kenny was talking earlier about just how hard you're working, obviously. But I like the rugged look. I think it dovetails with the training camp. I think you should let the fro go going forward here. So Kenny obviously was with you recently, and I think it was pretty cool for me to see, certainly, and for a lot of mixed martial arts fans to see that collaboration. I know you've relied at times on his breakdowns in the past. So how did it come together from your standpoint that you finally got Florian in the building this time around?
You know, man, I really value his opinion as an analyst, as a partner, and most importantly, as a friend, you know, and a guy that's experienced MMA at the highest level. So when Flo and I were talking before I fight, he gives me these great messages. A lot of times he gives me breakdowns. You know, before the Jones fight, Kenny told me the one thing that stuck with me more than anything, and I think it came a little too late. It was win the fight because you're better. Don't rely on trying to make this guy quit on himself. 25 minutes is not long enough to make him do that. If I wish I would have heard that 8 weeks prior, because then I would have known I can't just go out there and attempting to break this guy's spirit. 25 minutes is not enough time for a guy that believes in himself that much. But so this time we were talking, and as he was getting ready to send me the breakdown, I said, Flo, why don't you come up for a few days? There are some things I can take from you in the grappling. The guy's a third-degree black belt, and grappling with him last weekend, it really did remind me, and it showed itself more than ever, how talented and how knowledgeable he is on the ground.
Oh, man. You see, he's just saying nice things. He's just lying. He's lying to you. DC was working his ass off, man. So it was awesome to see you working so hard, dude. I know you're motivated. But I got to ask you, DC, why didn't I get to stay in the house, man? I didn't get to stay in the compound, the Cormier compound.
My house is just so full, man. I know you saw my team. I've got Chris Camacho and Rudy staying there. My family's there. We had some people over all week. It was my birthday last week, and I have a cousin that's born 2 days after me, so he came up and spent his birthday. And you know what, man? For an A-lister like Florian, you put him up in a hotel. You get the guy a car. You put him in a hotel. You don't stick him on the couch anywhere.
Oh, dude, I'm playing with you. Listen, man. So what's the biggest thing heading into this rematch against Anthony Johnson? You know, do you think you're going to see a very similar Anthony Johnson in this rematch?
I anticipate a much better version of the Rumble I fought last time. A guy that's worked on the areas that he struggled in, and the guy that's addressed them. A guy that's going to come in confident and trying to finish the fight. So I feel like we have trained for a better version of him. I feel like we've covered all of our bases, dotted our I's and crossed our T's. We've worked, man, so much in the areas that we feel we struggled in last time. And even in the areas that we were successful, we still have to improve in every facet of our game.
DC, I know you're confident, obviously, in your skills and your ability to make adjustments over the course of a championship fight. I said earlier, if we hit minute 24, we feel like Cormier is going to be the fresher fighter and the live bet at that time. But how much do you guys talk about the first round when adjustments aren't as much of a factor, and your approach to round one against a fighter like this with this particular skill set?
I know how tough he is, but John, really, I have to be careful in the first 7 minutes, because reality is I felt him over the course of 14 minutes now, and I know the difference in his power from minute 1 when he dropped me to minute 13. So I can base that on experience. I felt him at minute 13, and granted, he's still very powerful, but it isn't that same explosive power that's there in minute 1, 2, 3, 4 of the very first round. So I've really taken into account the beginning of the fight, being very aware being ready to go from the start and making sure that I'm implementing my game plan from the first bell all the way until I finish the fight.
Daniel Cormier with us, defends his UFC light heavyweight title at UFC 210. That's the headliner, April 8th, Buffalo, New York, coming up here in about 11 days or so. So last title defense obviously was that epic clash with Alexander Gustafsson, October of 2015. I mean, your kids are a lot older now than they were the last time you were in that type of championship setting and fight. How has that dynamic changed for you as the kids have become, increasingly more aware of what's going on, the stakes and everything else?
Man, this is one where they haven't paid much attention. They really pay attention sometimes, my son for sure, but this time he hasn't. The guy's busy. He's got wrestling, he's got baseball, so he's just really kind of worried about that stuff. But, he can tell when Dad's in training camp. He just tells me stuff like, Dad, you just have to keep the belt. You need to win the fight. Go win the fight, Dad, so that you can stay champion. I want you to always be champion, stuff like that, and that's like touching. But it's also motivation. And my daughter, the other day I was scared of something, and she goes, "You're not scared, Dad. You're a fighter. You're not scared of anything, and you're Dad." So they're aware. They think you're a superhero because of what you do, and I love it.
Well, you're one of the all-time great athletes that we've ever had in mixed martial arts. Your future's in the UFC Hall of Fame. But I saw your daughter hitting a T-ball or a softball, that video the other day. I mean, she might have more natural ability than Dad, I think, in a lot of respects.
She is the most athletic one in our entire family, man.
Yeah.
She hits that ball. She hits from the coach every time. They never have to worry about the tee for her. In softball,
Wow.
the coach pitch or they hit off the tee. Right off the couch, man, she knocks the ball out into the middle of the game, and she starts prancing over to first base. We got to work on her running skills. So right now I have a son who barely makes contact with the ball but can run really fast. And my daughter always hits and doesn't really want to run. So I got to find a way to combine them so that they can become complete little baseball and softball players.
Oh, you got to love those Olympic genes, though. All right, we'll get you out of here on this. So April 22nd, Ken Flo, Shaolin Ribeiro in Abu Dhabi. So I'm looking for an underdog line on the internet on Kenny Florian. I haven't found one out there, but Ken Flo's got a big name, DC. I'm thinking might be some value for us on Shaolin Ribeiro here as a slight favorite. What do you think?
Let me tell you something, man. Shaolin comes out in this as a favorite. I got $15,000 on Kenny Florian. I'm going to get paid. I'm going to get paid.
See that? My man.
I'm going to get my money. And then we'll go back to UFC tonight. We're going to celebrate.
There you
We're
go.
going to celebrate me and Florian.
All right, well, of course, before we get there, it's April 8th, man. All eyes on you, UFC 210. We were saying earlier, this is the biggest UFC fight of 2017. No added pressure, but we're excited to see a championship fight and this high-stakes fight, man. So finish strong, finish healthy, man. Thanks for breaking away for us for a few minutes today, bud.
Go
My
get him,
boys.
champ.
Love you guys, man. I'm glad you guys had me on. Let's go, boys. Let's go.
There he
Let's
is. Let's do it.
Later.
All right, there he is, UFC light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier joining us here on the Anakin Florian podcast. I like how you circle back to staying at his house. I mean, dude, I would love to see the conversation. Hey, Flo, dude, why don't you just come crash at San Jose? We got a couch. I mean,
yeah.
And I don't mean to, because I know you sleep on a couch. I mean, I know you've slept on worse, but when was the last time you slept on a couch, kid?
Dude, geez, I'm trying to think.
In Thailand.
I know every time I'd visit my buddies in New York, that's where I slept. It was always a couch, man.
There you
always
go.
a couch. Yeah.
And the hair always wakes up looking the same.
Perfect.
Time now for the pick to click. The pick to click.
All I have to do is bet on the winner, and I'll never lose.
The John Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
So we're getting to the point where you just wonder if it's actually beneficial to give the listeners a pick to click. I'm 1-5 on the year. I didn't go 4 games below 500 all of 2016. Last time we gave you a pick, it was actually a couple weeks ago. It was round 1 of the NCAA tournament. Vermont Catamounts getting 9.5, I think it was. They lost by 10. I mean, we can't catch a goddamn break. So pick to click for tonight. Marquee game in the NBA Tuesday, March 28th. We will take the Houston Rockets to beat the Golden State Warriors. They're minus 115 right now. That's on the money line. You don't have to lay the half a point or the -1. Warriors have won 7 in a row. Rockets need to shoot the ball well. They got to shoot it well from 3. I think they will tonight. I think it's going to be a shootout, but I'll take the home team here in a big spot for both sides, obviously. But I think in particular for Houston, they had a particularly bad effort home to Golden State earlier this year, and I don't think they replicate it. James Harden, let's get it done tonight. Let's get us to 2-5. That is your pick to click for Tuesday, March 28th. All right, that's a wrap for this week. Thank you to our great listeners across the United States and beyond. Thanks for your patience on a day late. Thanks to DC, Daniel Cormier. Thanks to Ray Longo. Our producer is TJ DeSantis. Quick turnaround for us. We're back on Monday. Ken Flo doesn't know it yet, but he will have no fewer than eight picks for you